Why are there serpents all over the place? What does the serpent imagery found all over the world actually mean? Today, in our very first episode, we will break this down. Dominoes of his story. Episode 1. Serpent Imagery. The common explanation for the name America is that it comes from the Italian navigator and explorer Amerigo Vespucci. Historical accounts record that Vespucci journeyed to the New World at least twice, possibly more, between 1497 and 1504, under the flags of both Portugal and Spain. Yet there is a striking detail often overlooked. Amerigo was not his given name. He was born Alberigo Vespucci. Only after returning from his expeditions did he begin using the name Amerigo. This shift recalls the case of Christopher Columbus, whose identity and name, according to several researchers, may not have been as presented in the standard historical record. Renowned Freemason and scholar Manly P. Hall emphasized this very point, noting that Columbus's real name was not the one commonly taught. He noted in his book, titled The Secret Destiny of America, that he agreed with the research in a 1937 published book called Christopher Columbus Was a Greek. According to its author, Spiros Kateras, Columbus came from an island in Greece called Chios, and the real name of Columbus was Prince Nicolaus Ypsilantis. In his influential work, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, Hall provides a detailed explanation that sheds light on why the name America endured. Likely, as we see it, the reason that Alberigo Vespucci was renamed Amerigo, too. Hall states, in Indian symbolism, the serpent, especially the great serpent, corroborates other evidence pointing to the presence of the mysteries on the North American continent. The flying serpent is the Atlantean token of the initiate. The seven-headed snake represents the seven great Atlantean islands, the cities of Cibola, and also the seven great prehistoric schools of esoteric philosophy. Moreover, who can doubt the presence of the secret doctrine in the Americas when he gazes upon the great serpent mound in Adams County, Ohio, where the huge reptile is represented as disgorging the egg of existence? Many American Indian tribes are reincarnationists. Some are transmigrationists. They even call their children by the names supposed to have been born by them in a former life. There is an account of an instance where a parent, by inadvertence, had given his infant the wrong name, whereupon the babe cried incessantly until the mistake had been rectified. The belief in reincarnation is also prevalent among the Eskimos. Aged Eskimos infrequently kill themselves in order to reincarnate in the family of some newly married loved one. So much serpent talk. But why? And reincarnation discussion, just like the Egyptians, Chaldeans, Buddhists, Gnostics, and others believed. Hall goes levels deeper in the secret teachings of all ages by quoting James Morgan Price. The red children of the sun, writes James Morgan Price, do not worship the one God. For them, that one God is absolutely impersonal, and all the forces emanate from that one God are personal. This is the exact reverse of the popular Western conception of a personal God and impersonal working forces in nature. Decide for yourself which of these beliefs is the more philosophical. These children of the sun adore the plumed serpent, who is the messenger of the sun. He was the god Quetzalcoatl in Mexico, Gucumatz in Quiche, and in Peru he was called Amaru. From the latter name comes our word America. Amaruca is literally translated land of the plumed serpent. The priests of this god of peace, from their chief center in the Cordilleras, once ruled both Americas. All the red men who have remained true to the ancient religion are still under their sway. One of their strong centers was in Guatemala, and of their order was the author of the book called Popol Vuh. In the Quiche tongue, Guchumats is the exact equivalent of Quetzalcoatl in the Nahuatl language. Quetzal, the bird of paradise; Coatl, serpent, the serpent veiled in plumes of the paradise bird. The true origin of our nation's name may not be what we've been told. At its root lies a serpent motif. This suggests that the story passed down to us, the one taught in schools and reinforced in history books, was a fabrication. The name itself is part of a much larger web of deceptions. Even the geography of the Americas reflects this theme. The mountain chains that stretch across the continents, the Andes in South America, Patagonia further south, and the Rockies extending northward, twist and curve across the land like the body of a great serpent etched into the earth. Ancient traditions across the region echo this same imagery. The Inca spoke of Viracocha, the Maya of Kukulkan, and the Aztec of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered or plumed serpent. At times, this figure was also described not as a serpent, but as a bearded, white-skinned man carrying a staff, who brought with him gifts of agriculture, advanced calendars, and celestial knowledge. According to legend, he arrived across the waters, sometimes said to be on Lake Titicaca, borne upon a raft of serpents. Serpents, serpents, serpents. Interesting. Why is it that so many landmarks, cities, and institutions in the New World bear the name Columbia or Columbus? The root of these names, Kolu or Kolo, may hold the key. Consider what word has been literally embedded in the architecture of the great civilizations: Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Babylonian, Israelite, Jordanian, and Carthaginian alike. That word is column. But is this root also tied to serpents? In fact, there are several connections. The caduceus, with its twin serpents entwined around a staff, is widely known in the medical field, though it is not exactly a column. The rod of Asclepius, featuring a single serpent from Greek tradition, again suggests the link, but not the column form. Yet there is one striking example that unites both ideas directly: the serpent column of Delphi, Greece. As one traces ancient traditions, it becomes clear how central serpent symbolism was across priesthoods and mystery schools. Researchers often encounter the Brotherhood of the Serpent, a name that appears repeatedly in accounts of hidden priesthoods operating behind the scenes of early civilizations. At Delphi, home to one of Greece's most influential mystery schools, the oracle at Delphi embodied this tradition. The serpent image itself recurs throughout antiquity. In the Hebrew Bible, it is the serpent that tempts Eve. In Egypt, the Uraeus cobra adorned the crowns of pharaohs as the goddess Wadjet, protector of Lower Egypt and the Nile. And in Greek thought, the Ouroboros, depicting a serpent consuming its own tail, symbolized unity, cycles of life and death, destruction and renewal. This image of the Ouroboros would even inspire the 19th century chemist August Kekulé von Stradonitz when he proposed the structure of the benzene ring. Among these traditions, the serpent column stands out as a critical emblem. Constructed at Delphi, this monumental bronze column wound upward into 3 serpent heads, forming a tripod. It was erected to commemorate the victory of the Greek city-states over Persia in the Battle of Plataea, and again at the naval clash at Mycale, which together ended Persian ambitions in Greece. The column was dedicated to Apollo in thanks for the oracle's prophecy of Greek victory, and its 3 heads symbolized the 31 city-states that united in that struggle. The number itself, 31, is the reverse of 13, a number steeped in occult symbolism that recurs throughout history. The 13 original colonies of America, the Friday the 13th persecution of the Knights Templar by King Philip of France, and the repeated motifs of 13 found on the U.S. dollar bill, from the pyramid steps to the eagle symbols. 13 leaves on the fig leaf in the eagle's claw, 13 arrow quivers in the other claw. The hexagram, also known as the Star of David or Seal of Solomon, formed above the eagle's head, is yet another emblem with deep esoteric roots, also created with 13 smaller stars. In 324 AD, the serpent column was relocated by Emperor Constantine to his new capital at Constantinople, placed at the very heart of the city in the Hippodrome. Why was this monument given such prominence? Constantine was the ruler who consolidated Rome's religious narrative, presiding over the Council of Nicaea, where the Nicene Creed was established. Here, the figure of Yeshua ben Hamashiach, Jesus Christ, was officially defined as consubstantial with God, equal, and eternal. From this moment, the Catholic Church and Christendom began their expansion westward, carrying with them imperial and spiritual authority. Even the very name Vatican points us back to Serpentine origins. Breaking it down, Vadis means diviner, and can means serpent. The Vatican, quite literally, is the divining serpent. Could it be, then, that Constantine's transfer of the serpent column to the center of his empire was not accidental? Perhaps it symbolized the serpent as a guiding force for the future expansion of Rome, Europe, and ultimately the West. And is it a coincidence that this column was placed in what is now Istanbul, Turkey today, the easternmost stronghold of NATO? What if we told you something that would blow your mind? Truly blow your mind? What if we told you that the form of Catholic Christianity that Constantine started hid knowledge about how man is both good and evil? What if it hid knowledge about the true state of our consciousness, and that the serpent motif is a metaphor for Kundalini energy? The Kundalini is viewed as a divine feminine serpent energy coiled up at the base of the human spine, attained through mastery of transcendental meditation. This serpent energy, called Kundalini, depicted in the ancient Indian texts called the Vedas, begins in the root chakra, known as the Muladhara chakra, and courses through all 7 other chakras up the spine and exits through the crown chakra, slightly above the top of the head. Kundalini's feminine energy is also associated with fertility. The root chakra, or Muladhara, an energy center at the base of the spine, is the first of 7 total chakras from bottom to top. This is where the Kundalini energy enters and begins her serpent rise. From the root chakra, or Muladhara, near the pelvic bone, the Kundalini then rises in sequence through the following chakras: Svadhisthana, or sacral chakra, near the belly button; Manipura, or solar plexus chakra, near the stomach; Anahata, or heart chakra, near the heart; Vishuddha, or throat chakra, near the throat; Aina, or third eye chakra, near the middle of the forehead; and finally, the Sahasrara, or crown chakra. We believe that when a master of meditation mastered the crown chakra, they were seen to have attained the Christos, and this would have meant they were anointed with oil or melted crocodile fat upon their head, as symbolically having mastered the Kundalini. Bill Donahue once made it clear in a presentation called Hidden Meanings in the Bible that the church knew this about the mastery of consciousness, but needed to hide it from the masses to control them through morality. The Bible contains coded symbolic, metaphysical allegory throughout it, according to Bill Donahue. It is a coded operation manual to attain the right brain mastery of consciousness, which is closest to God. He stated that the serpent in the Garden of Eden, all the men going to the mountaintops, Jesus tossing his net to the right side, and even Moses' leaving Egypt and turning a staff into a serpent were all hidden knowledge about meditation, kundalini, and mastery of right brain consciousness and our crown chakra to bring us closest to our loving God. Pursuit of it was to be deemed secretly evil because the church wanted us all to follow the story and not be aware, to look to them as a figurehead, not within. Now you may say this is not true. You may not think that any of it is coded or that the church does not know this. But why then, when you get an aerial view of the Vatican, does the entire layout of the building and the road leading into St. Peter's Square form a pregnant snake or serpent? It's true. It looks exactly like this. Christianity is not the first religious story, dogma, or theocratic mythos. Many came before it. Remember, in Luke 17, Jesus said, "God is within you." Did he not? He did. Throughout history, forces that are aware of humanity's darkness, and perhaps those forces willing to even harness that darkness, have often hidden themselves within the pursuit of enlightenment, illumination, and knowledge. At times they remain subtle, working through deception. At others they reveal themselves through open displays of power. This is the essence of the serpent, both a guide toward wisdom and a force that can mislead. Knowledge itself carries this duality. It can be constructive or destructive, uplifting or corrupting, always containing some element of its opposite. Good and evil cannot exist in isolation. Each defines the other. Like the swing of a pendulum, their greatest power lies at opposite extremes. The serpent embodies this paradox. It holds within it the light of creativity, love, and spiritual growth. But it also carries humanity's darker impulses, the shadow that accompanied us from the Neolithic age into the modern world of technology and innovation. Wherever light advances, some measure of darkness follows close behind. This pattern traces through history, winding like the serpent itself. From America, the trail moves backward into Britain, the Netherlands, France, and Germany, and further into the Holy See, Byzantium, and the Roman Empire. Rome itself eventually fell not to one power, but to surrounding barbarian tribes, Germanic Saxons, Vandals, Visigoths, Ostrogoths, as well as Celtic Gauls and Asiatic Huns. The Renaissance offers a vivid lens into these themes. Consider Michelangelo's monumental fresco, The Last Judgment, commissioned by Pope Clement VII. The painting is filled with striking imagery, demons emerging from a pit of hell, dragging souls into torment, Minos wrapped in a serpent's coils, horned and watching as chaos unfolds in the lower right. The damned shown in despair and struggle, while above them the faithful, bearing the cross, prepare to strike back in spiritual triumph. At the very center, a figure sheds his skin like a reptile, suggesting deception and the shifting between light and shadow. In the upper right, Michelangelo even includes a column, perhaps symbolizing empire, though with knowledge of the serpent column of Delphi, its placement alongside the serpent entwined around Minos cannot be overlooked. Was Michelangelo embedding a message here? Was he suggesting that one side, portrayed as evil, carries forward the esoteric pursuit of hidden knowledge and illumination, even if that path runs counter to the doctrines of Christianity shaped for the masses? Was he hinting that those drawn to the occult must inevitably play a role in the divided religious consciousness, standing apart from the devout churchgoers who could never accept them? Ah, yes, the serpent shows up in every single culture. At times, it references the mastery of the Kundalini serpent of consciousness. Sometimes, it references the serpentine movements of our celestial clockwork. Other times, it references the guiding serpent of the progression of empires and the movement and growth of our human footprint as colonization of the world. And yet, at other times, it references the very ethereal energy that makes up our material world. In ancient Egypt, along the Nile, 7 areas with temples adorn that famous river, each representing one of the chakras of the earth and its mirror in the human body in our spines. So the builders of Egypt, or of Kemet, as they were truly known, knew that the serpentine flow south to north of the Nile was a great place to signify this Kundalini consciousness, and their priests would have to master specific tasks at each location. As we mentioned before, Egyptian pharaohs adorned their heads with uraeus, a cobra coming out from the middle of the forehead, where the third eye opens to the crown chakra. The Greek god Apollo was always seen with a python, and his son Asclepius had the rod of Asclepius with a single serpent wrapped around it. The Delphi column had a serpent. The caduceus, used by medical practices today and dating back to early Mesopotamia, has 2 serpents. Moses turned a staff into a snake. The Gnostics believed Yaldabaoth, a lion-headed serpent, was the demiurge, a being that, along with his 7 archons, took divine energy or hijacked it and created this physical world. In Canaan, it was Baal who destroyed the serpent Leviathan. In Babylon, the serpent Tiamat was destroyed by Marduk to create earth and heaven. The Inca spoke of Viracocha, the Maya of Kukulkan, and the Aztec of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered or plumed serpent. Hinduism and Buddhism have figures called the Nagas, serpentine-like people. Buddha received cover from a storm by a 7-headed snakehood belonging to King Mukalinda, the king of the serpents. In fact, Asian cultures saw dragons as another symbol of serpentine likeness, springing from the Naga lore. Australian Aborigines tell a tale of the rainbow serpent, and one of the oldest temples known to man, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dating back 11,000 years, has many carved serpent reliefs, carved with intent, and making them one of the most prominent creatures featured there at the site. The Ohio Great Serpent Mound is another example, but the serpent quite literally springs up everywhere on Earth. Why? Why all of it? Because the Greek Ouroboros serpent it is representative of the energy coursing through our very fabric and essence of existence. From our spiraling Milky Way to the curving space-time of our dimensional universe, to the very Kundalini energy uncoiling our conscious connection to the divine source. The serpent is existence. The serpent is not evil. The serpent is aware that polarities exist, that beginnings and endings exist, but as a part of a continuum. The serpent is aware that good and evil are what make up the whole, playing off of each other as diametrically opposed, yet also unable to exist without each other and oddly drawn to each other to form a material propulsion called existence. Consciousness is the serpent. If you like this video, we do write all of our own content and have much more to bring to you. Please like, follow, and subscribe to catch all our new videos. And as always, God loves you and wants you to align with your highest astral self.